I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have a special guest. She's been in 4 different productions of Cats, including the 2016 Broadway revival and the most recent U.S. tour and a regional tour and another tour. And she's also been in many roles, but most notably Demeter. So welcome, Madison Mitchell, and thank you for joining me.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I am very excited because 4 tours is 4 different productions is a lot. So you've got a lot of range on this to give a lot of different stories of this, because there's a lot to break into with this, and you've got a lot of experience with a lot of characters.
Yes.
But before we get into your productions, I would love to hear just about like the first time you saw the musical or the history with the show. Like, did you see it as a kid? Did you see it? Like, what was that first experience for you?
Yeah, so I think probably kind of a lot of people my age saw the VHS, the 1998 VHS production. So I hadn't technically seen it, but it was always a commercial before. I think it was like the Annie movie that came out with Audra McDonald when I was young. It was a commercial before like one of the movies my sister and I used to watch. So we'd always see clips of it. And I thought it was like kind of scary, but kind of interesting. And specifically, like I remember, because I've grown up performing and dancing, I remember the shot of what's known as the jeté swirl in the opening number, where they're all in a circular motion jetting. I remember thinking that was cool, and that the white cat was like really pretty. And then I was like, what is this weird thing? But I think like I still kind of am, afraid of like Disney characters like fuzzies and stuff like that. So it kind of like freaked me out. So I wasn't totally like, I need to watch that.
Interesting. So your first introduction was like the 3 previews you get on the VHS.
Yeah, just like little teasers. And then I officially saw it, a regional production in California when I was 13. And myself being a dancer and wanting to perform in New York, it's like, oh, I have to see, this is like one of the longest running shows ever. Yes. And I got out of the theater and I was like, what did I just see? I was so confused. I didn't quite understand it. And again, I just remember I'm like, I think the choreography is cool. I don't get it, but now I've experienced that experience.
And that was it. 13.
Yeah, that was it.
13. Yeah. Did you at that age even grasp a lot of the like undertones and a lot of the like storyline that comes with that? No, it's still too young.
I think there's no way. Yeah. And I mean, even like, when I know like young kids have seen it, it's the visual aspect of it that's either intriguing. I think that happens with adults too, actually. Like it's intriguing, it's visually stimulating in some way. Like, what is happening to me? Like, what's happening in the show? But yeah, so that's kind of what it was. And I know we got to walk on stage at intermission. They did that part where old dude like stays on. That's my dog. And basically, I remember walking on stage and I was like, what is this? I don't know. It was just all a new experience for me. And I've grown up seeing shows, but this one was like very unique, which I think still holds true.
Did you see the VHS before the regional production?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did. You finally saw Annie enough times that you rented it.
Yeah.
Okay. That is kind of fascinating because like I've heard a lot of people that I did not see I didn't grow up as a dancer in the theater world or anything related. So I didn't know the VHS production existed until I had seen the show in 2016. And I was like, same thing. I walked up being like, what did I see? Mm-hmm. What happened? And I kind of went on a little bit of like my thesis that I was like, this was poorly written. I would have written the story differently. And that was all I kind of had this. And then I was like, well, did you watch the 1998 movie? And I'm like, what movie? And then it was like, oh, that's what's on YouTube. And one of my friends was like, yeah, I have the VHS somewhere at home. And I'm like, that's going to be super helpful for me in 2016. Like, sending me a VHS. But I didn't like everybody I've talked to who's in the theater world knew it and was like, it's like, that's a big part of their history with the show. Yeah. So you found it. So now you're 13, you see it. Did you see it any other time before you got cast in it?
No, that was
So
it.
one time as a 13-year-old. So now walk me through, you're on, which came first? The first US tour?
The first tour, yeah. So it's kind of weird. It was only 4 years later. I was 17 when I was auditioning for it. So I was doing theater. I had graduated high school early, passed what's called my California High School Proficiency Exam. I'm from California. And so I was performing, just kind of performing in LA, kind of like off like LA theater places and trying auditioning places and then going to like a state college at the time. And there was this breakdown notice for Cats, and there was a description of a character they were looking for who at the time I think I pronounced it like Demeter. Like I had no idea.
I'm still not positive
I
pronounced these characters right.
Yeah, it was just like, I was like, yeah, sure, Demeter. I'll go in for that. That's great. And but the description said 5'6" to 5'8" height, like, I don't know, mezzo soprano or something, and then said like neurotic. And first of all, I'm 5'6.5" exactly. And that's my vocal range. And then my family calls me the spaz attack because I move quickly and like kind of fast, and I'm kind of neurotic at times. So I was like, whoa, that's me. And it's just funny when, I mean, you read, I've been in the industry since I was a kid. You read breakdowns all the time that kind of fit you, but this just felt like so funny to me that I could relate to this breakdown, and I didn't really know what it was in the context of Cats at all. So I decided to go in for it. It was like a long day of auditions. By the end of the day, it was me and two other girls that I'm actually still friends with, which is so cool, and I've performed with them since. And from that audition, they cast me as Demeter, which I found out is how you pronounce it. And one of the other girls was cast as the swing for Demeter and some of the other lady cats. So it was really fun because most of the cast had already done auditions in New York. Most of the show was already cast. They just needed a select few people. So they came to LA, which does happen sometimes, but it just happened to work out that I guess one of the roles they were looking for, I happened to fit. And with Cats, you do have to have specific heights and sizes because the kittens tend to be shorter. So it's kind of a lucky thing that they happened to be looking for one that I did fit. Yeah. And I think a week later, I got like a 212 phone call, and I was like, that's New York. That means something. And I found out I got it.
When you land this role.
Yeah.
And that, like, it's a fairly promiscuous number.
She's a mature role, yeah.
So it's a 17-year-old.
And it's just making me laugh because anyone who knows me knows like that's not necessarily my nature. But I've also played like older since I was young. Like I was playing 13, 14-year-olds when I was 11 in TV film stuff. So it's just like I don't know. And I almost feel like as I'm actually getting older, roles are making more sense for me that like I was going in for when I was young. But yeah, because the woman who had played Demeter before me was over 10 years older than I was. So, and then I was hearing that the current tour was like, who's this young 17-year-old coming? Like, who's that? And like, I don't know, especially, I mean, you hear when you're young, working with younger people, you want to be a good embodiment of what that means to be the young person in the cast or whatever. But a good friend of mine that I grew up dancing with, he also happened to book the role of Monkey Strap. And he was, I think, 18 or 19, so just a little bit older than me. So we were like two youngins. The swing was also young too. So it was like kind of nice to just have other people. So I wasn't the only one who like after shows, they're like, we're all going out. I'm like, won't be able to go. I'll go back to my hotel room and watch Friends, and that's fine.
That's, it's just kind of, again, a fascinating thing because I learned about the show almost as I wrote the episodes for this podcast, especially like the deep knowledge of it. And the more I like get into some of the deeper characters, when I saw that you played Demeter at first, I was like, that's a very dark storyline, depending on how you examine it. So I'm very curious, what were you told when you landed? Like, what were you told about how to play her? Yeah,
I'll say in a way, honestly, like, and it makes sense that she was my introduction to the show, but I just love her. And I love like the meat of the story. I always tell people if I'm describing it for the first time, I'm like, don't imagine it's a cat. Imagine this is a real woman, like a person. But so in the rehearsals, especially like in the audition, even when I was singing Macavity, because I didn't know the song at all, I was learning it outside the room. they just kind of said like, she's scared of this person. So it's a little timid. It's not totally comfortable as you're singing about him, but you're like kind of desiring him. So I was like, okay. So I just kind of went with that a little more so. But then in the actual rehearsal process, our director who set the tour at the time, Richard Stafford, absolutely incredible. He sets the tour at the time, and he also set a bunch of regional productions on the East Coast. And he just knew so much about the show and the inner workings. And I remember there was a day, it was kind of like a guided felinity exercise. We did felinity every day, but there was a guided exercise kind of working through the characters. He had us all close our eyes. And so he was describing each character. I mean, he was describing Demeter. He definitely went into all that stuff that you've probably heard. Just she's been raped and abducted by Macavity in the past. She's worried at any moment that he could come back and abduct her again. So that was kind of the confirmation of like, that is the story that we're going with. And honestly, I actually really appreciated as an actor getting to have something like that to play. And also trying to find ways, okay, so if that is the case, then she's also singing Gumby Cat. Why is she so cheerful here? What makes her so happy and not as, like, more carefree during Gumby Cat as opposed to at the entrance of Grizabella? And what does that mean to her? And kind of finding the ways that it all connects for her. So I actually really, really enjoyed it. I had a great time with her, and learning the number Macavity was so cool. Like, I still think, I remember seeing video clips of Gillian Lynn describing it. And yes, it's very erotic in ways, but it's the sensuality of like a female sensuality. She just captures it so well from different perspectives, from Demeter and from Baum. And I really appreciated that, having like not really worked with female choreographers, to know that this show was set by a woman and what it is for her. It's just really, I enjoyed it. So
it is, it's an interesting piece, because it's a piece that, like, when I first saw it, it's like the whole thing's so mesmerizing in the beginning. And then as I've like now listened to the music more, and kind of like, it's the song that like gets stuck in my head most. It's like the song I kind of enjoyed the most.
Yeah. It's fun to sing.
So you go on tour, you play Demeter, you kind of learn all this. And then the next casting is a regional production.
Yeah. And I had actually, I had gone in for Demeter, and I didn't get it. So that's a lesson to any theater person to know, or anyone who auditions, like, just because you've done something somewhere doesn't mean you're going to get it somewhere else. So nothing's ever owed to you. You still have to show up and do the work. So I did not get it. I didn't even get the show. And then I think it was like maybe a week later, I happened to be doing a reading with someone who was like assisting the choreographer. And he just was like, how is your soprano? I was like, I love singing soprano. It's actually like something I prefer to do. I just never usually get asked to do it. He's like, great. So I think our Jelly Lorem just dropped. Could you come in for Jelly? It's like, I'd love to. That sounds like so much fun. And I think I like messaged the girls who had done Jelly on tour. I'm like, any advice on Jelly? Like, I don't really know much about her. So I went in, we sang part of the opera, we sang part of Gus, and I found out that day I got it. Wow. So then,
very quick turnaround.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. Yeah. From one week, I'm like, I'm not doing the show. And then the next week, I'm like, yay. Okay. And this like probably won't hurt my body as much. So that's great. Yeah. I'll get to show something different and try something totally different. I mean, cause like her journey is, as far as character psyche wise, is totally different.
Yeah, totally different.
So yeah, so then that was really fun.
What are you given? So I've talked to a few people that have done regional productions and done other shows on Broadway, and you're given a lot less to like depth than you probably were on tour and in 2016 in the revival. What were you told about Joy Lorem in the backstory there? Were you given as much to work off of, or did you kind of have to base it off of what you knew?
I'll give credit, wonderful credit, to Dina Salamando and Billy Johnston, who set that regional production, that there was a day, I mean, we only had 2 weeks of rehearsal, so I fully applaud the people who had never done Cats before, and that was their first time. I was glad, like, at least I had some verbal, like, I knew the vocabulary of the show. I didn't have to hardcore rememorize Skimbleshanks again. Like, I'm like, I know what the 13/8 time is. That's great. We're fine. But they did, there was one day we showed up to rehearsal and they posted paragraphs of like a biography of each character. And then Dana, I remember, asked, or like kind of like just a general overview. And then Dana said, as a character exercise, she wanted us to, like, for homework, write about ourselves, like kind of write a personal biography. And so it was fun as Jelly Lorm too, because then I did Griddlebone. Like I did a whole, such a nerd. No one ever saw the biography that I wrote, but I did it for myself in this idea of like, what is Griddlebone? Like, what operas has she performed in? I just
Do you
think
still
of
have all of this information?
I probably the laptop I'm using right now is like from that time. It's over 10 years old. So I probably have it saved in a file somewhere.
I think you should share it so we can put it out, put it in the description, share it with the world.
And then the actor who played Gus too, I can't remember if he had done it before, but Dina worked with us privately when we were staging Gus of what this relationship was between the two of us. And I feel like anytime I've seen it or I've done it since, that is very much dictated kind of by those two actors, that Gus and that Jelly Lorm. Kind of, they themselves bring what their thoughts are to that relationship, and that kind of begins to curate and cultivate what it is in that production. I mean, there's like a general consensus, but people kind of build on that.
Which actually makes a lot of sense, because with the VHS, it was Sir John Mills, and he was, I didn't realize that he was mostly blind when he was recording, like when that happened. I don't think
I knew that.
And so that's why they walked him out. So that's why like Jelly Lorm takes him out there like arm in arm, because he can't see anything. He's just going out there to sing, and then they basically had to walk him back. And so like it's even as kind of lines up with that there, which is again, I learn something new about the show every time I talk to anybody that's remotely related to it, because there's too many pieces to catch in the 2 times I've seen it on stage, and like the 2 times I've seen the movie all the way through, and all the pieces I've seen.
Here's some fun story, I guess. Was our first, I think, official preview. We had done all of Tech Week. I think it was just our first paying audience, so it must have been our first preview. And we were doing that blocking. I'm Jelly. I'm getting can for Gus to sit on, and I completely blank on what the words are. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And I look, it hasn't officially come yet, but I'm like in that transition. And I look, our Jenny Annie-Dodds was near me, and I looked at her and said, what do I say? And she goes, Gus is the cat. Gus. And I was like, no, I know that. I knew that, but I like didn't know the rest. And I was freaking out. And I set the can down, and it's just like a spotlight on me. And it just like muscle memory came out. But I was so stressed of that moment that after that show happened, I went backstage and I wrote all the lyrics to Gus down. And at intermission, every performance, I would read the lyrics over. Just, I think, and I've talked to other jellies about it before, there's something deceivingly hard about it, because the melody is kind of sing-songy. It's a little bit loose, and usually the conductor kind of goes off of you. He keeps tempo, he or she keeps tempo, but you are guiding that song. And there's no choreography with it. And I think it was one of the first times that at least McCavity, if I ever felt, which I did almost like go up on my lyrics as Demeter, like I had choreography to stabilize, like to ground me in what the next thing was. And so I was like, wait, I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
So every show you did that.
Yeah. That's since then, anytime I played Jelly, I still do that. Cause I guess I'm just like in my head that something's going to go wrong. I don't know.
So I think that's a good transition to the revival, because you played a swing in the revival.
Yes.
And that means that you're covering lots of people.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a few swings. I find that, like, to me, just learning one track in the show seems hard, let alone multiple. So how do you keep all of the different lyrics and staging and where you're supposed to be and the dance numbers and everything when you're going to go on potentially on the same day as 2 different people?
Yeah, which did happen once, which was very fun. It makes it kind of exciting. Yeah, I'll say, like, because then that was probably, 3 or 4 years later, I moved to New York and auditioned for that. And kind of in the auditions, I started feeling, based on what they were asking of me vocally and what I would, like, kind of where my height was among the other women, I was like, I think I'm being considered for a swing, just because some of the really tall ladies, like, you're for sure will, like, you'd be the bomb or you'd be the Demeter. But I can actually, like, I can tell I don't perfectly fit one to where I could be a swing maybe. So I remember, like, halfway through the callbacks, I was like, oh man, because I know my friends on tour who'd been swings. I'm like, that's so hard. Yeah. Am I, like, equipped for that challenge? But as any person who gets a swing for the first time, there's just a first time, and you just have to trust yourself and go, and know that like the creative team trusts you. So here you go. It was really fun. It was really difficult. One of the hardest jobs I've ever had. But I'll say in a way, like the tracks that I did, because I did Demeter, Bomb, Cassandra, and Tantamile, like Demeter, Bomb, and Cass all have a similar trajectory, literally as far as like tracking in the show. Like they're usually in similar spots, similar worlds of choreography. So like some of the swings that had to do kittens and adults, or just kind of like different characters, like I felt, I guess it made it hard in a way, but I think it made it easier. Like I knew the space of like, Cassandra's always in my corner eye when I play Bomb here. So I know if I'm cast tonight, Bomb's going to be, you know what I mean? Like I could connect them in my head more. But yeah, I mean, it was super fun. I mean, especially with Demeter, Bomb, both being in the Gumby trio, that just before any show that I did, I would just practice which starting note I had before, to make sure like Bomb goes down here, Bomb goes, or Demeter goes up here, whatever it is, like track that once just before the show to know that's the headspace I'm in. Yeah.
As a swing, do you, like, how critical are you of yourself when you're going through that and you're like, oh, because like as a cast member or as a fan or just someone in the audience, I'm never going to notice that. Now there are some Cats fans in the junkyard and whatever that probably will notice every single thing. But to me, you could have said anything up there. And unless it's in memory the first time, and even memory, I'm like, oh, I know that song, but I was like, I don't know all the lyrics to it. I wouldn't know it. And so, but you do. And like, how much do you just kind of like roll with it? Or how much is that like to your point, I got to remember I get the first note and then the rest just comes to me?
It's kind of a balance. I think anyone, who's probably a performer or even has been a swing, you're a perfectionist in a way, but you have to let that go. And sometimes I do a good job with it and sometimes I don't. Because there are times, like you said, and I would see swings, like we all would have some slip up or whatever. And I think it's actually just kind of funny. As long as it hasn't been super dangerous or hasn't hurt someone, then it's like, whatever, we're human beings. And I think that's kind of entertaining. So sometimes if something like that happened just slightly, I'd be like, oh, okay, now let's keep going. Let's just keep present in the moment as much as we can with things. But so I guess it just depended on the night. And I tried to let myself not be too self-critical, because then you'll just go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the concept of swing to me is wild. Like it's just the it is a
crazy thing. And it's I know we just had National Swing Day, like last week or whatever. And it's just exciting when there's recognition and awareness of it. Not that that the playing company is not working hard as well. It's just we're all equally working hard to keep this show running. And I would be so amazed by seeing swings, haven't had a full rehearsal of a track yet. They're like spacing through it at half hour, and the audience is going to come in and have no idea that like a miracle is happening on stage, so it's cool to kind of be a part of that magic.
Yeah. And to do it on Broadway too. Like,
oh my gosh, dream come true. Total dream come true.
And that was your debut, correct?
Yeah. And my physical debut was Demeter, which was a full circle moment in many ways. But then also it was planned. So like I knew it was happening. My whole family could come. I mean, there are so many things that, everyone's Broadway debut, no matter how unique it is, like it's special in their own way. I was just so happy to have that, and to debut as her was just so cool. I still think, I'm like, I can't believe that happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now we fast forward to the most recent tour, the one that kind of got cut short. Tell me about that. Like that wasn't that long after, like maybe a year after? Yeah. Because
and again, like I had auditioned for it and I didn't get it at first. So again, to everyone, like you just never know when your right time is or when the perfect time is. And like nothing's ever guaranteed. So I knew just my body was having a hard time with Cats, and I wanted to kind of change my trajectory in the show. So because I had done the show, I knew how the tracks work. So on Broadway, I was a vocal booth singer as well as the swing. But then there are other vocal booth singers that cover more like the quote unquote vocal roles. So it's Jelly and Grizz in the revival production. So I was like, that would be so awesome. And like to kind of get myself into the Grizz cover category would be like so cool. So I had auditioned for that. I didn't get it. Then like, I think probably 6-7 months go by and they just needed someone to join the booth real quick as like, just to be in the vocal booth. And then I think a day before I was flying out to just sing in the vocal booth for a week, they're like, they might actually need a permanent Grizz Jelly cover again. Could you put yourself on tape singing Memory this week? So I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. So that happened. And like, thank the Lord, because I was so hungry for a performing job again. And it just happened at like the perfect time. And I got it. So then I joined the tour, like, I think 3 weeks after that happened. And yeah, I got to start covering Jelly and Grizz.
And so you're in the booth, which I think that's the only show, at least I've ever heard of, that has singers, so like that, like a vocal booth, like that doesn't exist in most shows, right?
Yeah. There are some in like Mamma Mia and Jersey Boys, but it's not like formal. It's like offstage singing, but they don't have like a specific place where they are. My Mamma Mia, Jersey Boys friends can correct me, but I know like Mamma Mia has so much offstage singing, but I don't know if they have like a formal, like this is the vocal booth where they are with their headsets and their monitor. Like I don't know.
A role versus like just okay. Yeah, that was again news.
Yeah,
to
I guess
me.
that's what makes it unique. It's like a very specific track of Cats.
One of the first people I talked to was a booth singer, and I was like, I didn't know what that was when I like first like was emailing with them, being like, wait, what does that mean? Because I'm definitely from the outside theater world, so it's like a lot of this is new to me. Mm-hmm. So you get to, and now you get to go on this Grizz. So tell me about your first time being Grizabella. Like, what was that experience like singing?
Weird. We're coming up today, like we're coming up on the year ago that happened. It was February 4th, 2020. It's like such a special day in my head. Like I'm commemorating it. But it was unbelievable. Even I'll say one of my first rehearsals as Grizz because the associate who taught me in New York before I were placed on tour, she was my associate on the Broadway production. So I've known her now like probably 5 years, but at the time it was around 4. And for her to be teaching me this role that she was originally teaching me the other one, it felt like I was like maturing into something, and with like people who knew me when I was younger, and that felt really special. Even the music supervisor from the tour that I did over 10 years ago was the music supervisor for this. And so it feels so special that I've been able to like sing this score at different times in my life and then progress to finally singing Memory. It felt like, like just so amazing. And I revere the song so much. And it's such an iconic song. And as anyone who's done the show and not been Grizz knows that like hearing the applause after Grizz sings Memory, and every Grizz is always like so incredible, so it's always warranted, but it is so full and incredible, and people are just moved immediately by it. And sometimes anyone knows, like when you've just been like busting your booty, like dancing the ball, and then you don't get a huge applause, you're like, gosh darn it, I'm working hard too, but I'm not singing that song that you know, so it doesn't matter as much. Like, but it was just like the idea in my head of like, I'll be the one standing center singing that song. That is crazy to me. So the put-in was really emotional for me, which for anyone who doesn't know, put-in is basically like almost like a running of the show with just the cast or just the swings, no audience, just so you get an idea of what the role is. And Grizz also flies, so I'm like, that's a new thing. That'll be fun. She get to like go away, like that's cool. So spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't know.
It's been around for like 40 years. I think we're past spoiling the show.
But so then the performance itself, my little sister got to fly out. It was an incredibly large theater in Richmond, Virginia. It was beautiful. And it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that I was like, again, the idea of like standing center and holding the stage, it was my principal debut too. So I've just never had that moment. And it was really, really cool. And I mean, as soon as I heard the applause, I literally just like tears down my cheeks. I was like, oh my gosh, couldn't believe that people were applauding like that. It was an unbelievable sound. So
it kind of also like it fits the moment of like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Crying in that moment normally anyways, because it's so much Did you get to, I've talked to a few of your tour cast as well. I've talked to a lot of the 2016 cast and a few of your tour casts, and I learned about I've dubbed it the bounce castle stage.
The inflatable cat, is that what you're talking about?
Stages? Yeah. Did you deal with any of those when you were on tour?
Yeah, you're talking about the inflatable set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So just so we're on. So before I had actually joined the non-union tour, which is the first one I ever did, I think someone else was joining a Troika tour around the same time, and they're like, "Oh, is that the inflatable set?" I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then I joined, and they're like, "So our set's inflatable?" I was like, "Wait, this is real? What's going on?" So the non-union tour had most of the set was inflatable. The hard objects were like the tire, the oven, and then maybe my memory, no pun intended, might be a little off, but I know for sure the tire was real, of course, because it had to be, but everything else was inflatable with fans blowing. So the regional production I did was the first time I ever had like a hard set of like the whole set. Then Broadway, of course, was all hard. And then the tour was partially inflatable in compared to the first tour I had done. And of course, I don't know if you've talked about it maybe on air, but like for people to understand, it was having to do with the travel, like the non-union tour travels on one-nighters and also travels like cities overnight. So it just made load in and load out easier. But yeah, then it's kind of fun to play like a little, like you're in a bounce house.
The reason it's like stuck with me is because, so I do love one of the things I love about Broadway when I do get to go, since again, I know so little about singing and dancing, is I do find the intricacies of set design fascinating. Like how it all moves, where it goes. I've seen a few of the backstages now where it's like, there's no room for this. I don't know where you put it. Like, how did it go up in the air?
Right. I know. It's incredible.
And so when I heard that it was inflatable, and then I kept thinking like, well, that makes sense. Like, it's very easy to kind of get that in and out, to your point. But then I thought back to all the movement that's happening. And then I've been in, that's why I kept calling it the bounce castle set. I've been in those things are loud, and you're already singing and dancing and like having to overpower that machine. So just that whole concept that's a thing stuck with me. Yeah. But also I do find it fascinating. That's like, that is a part of like just the way you do tour. Because I have not seen a tour. I would have saw your cast most likely in that April.
Of last year. Oh, wow. Yes.
They were stopping back where I'm from, and I was, at that point I was like, maybe I'll go home and see it. But we just missed by a couple weeks. But okay, I want to dive in now because I want to talk just a little bit about the story of the show before we go into some rapid fire. Mm-hmm. You've played so many of these characters, and you've been kind of given a lot of different backstories. Mm-hmm. How would you tell me the relationships that you've pieced together between them? Like, is Demeter and Baum's sisters? Is like, what's the relationship with Grizabella? Like, how does this all mesh together? Can you fill me in? I have thoughts on a lot of them.
Yeah, I definitely think Demeter and Baum are sister cats. I don't really know exactly what that means. Does that mean like sisters, as in like how humans are? I don't know, but there's like a sister kinship to the two of them. They've grown up in the same sphere together, and Grizz was a part of that and split off on her own. So that's but now I'm worried that I'm going to say something that someone's going to be like, that's not right.
The thing about this is there is no right answer for only besides a few things that have been like confirmed by directors or something else.
Yes,
there
exactly.
Are the Junkyard, who are the super fans that came to a lot of the revival and a lot of the shows. They have thoughts, like very clear thoughts. And then there's some people who have tried to map it out, but there is no like, besides like, this is probably this case, or we've confirmed that like Monkus, Trap, and Tugger, I think, are brothers, or like there's a couple that have been
that kind of stuff. Right.
But it's really open-ended past that.
Yeah. And I never put like, I don't know. I never, especially with Demeter and Baum being a little bit on like they're like, I don't know. I always call them lady cats. That I never made anyone like my kid or anything like that. Like some people are like, oh, Mungo Jerry might be Demeter and McCavity's child. I'm like, I don't know. I never necessarily played those things as an actor when I was her. The most, I guess, that I played in relation to like the tribe is like Demeter's fear of becoming like Grizabella, or knowing what her past was, and knowing that we could be on the same track, and I could end up like you if I make one small decision, or if something happens. So that was like the most I played with that. And then
what about Jelly?
Jelly, I think she's so fun. I just remember, like, especially the revival, we did have Trevor Nunn come, who had directed the original, and the first day he like gave us words. Now, I wasn't covering Jelly at that point, but I know, like, just the idea of like fun loving, like she's just enjoying, which there's a part of me that so is like that. And so I love that she's just enjoying the moment. So yeah, we definitely played that, like, she's been the caretaker for Gus. And what's interesting is the job I had in the interim between the Cats Broadway production and the Cats tour, I was a caregiver for someone in New York. So getting to have that experience and then play Jelly again a little bit later than I played her originally was so cool to like know what that is, to want to care for someone and look out for them and make sure that they're supported in what they're doing. Yeah, so yeah. I know, like life imitating art kind of stuff. Yeah. And like Jenny is one of her gal pals. I definitely, especially with how the blocking was for the tour, at least, which I know was different than some of the Broadway stuff, but Jelly interacted with the kittens a lot. And I think that's so much fun. I like the idea of like, there's this maternal aspect of her. And again, there had been some stuff created by the people before me on the tour, which was like Pounce is Jelly's son or something like that. And I would play that in, if that's what the Pounceville was doing, I would play into that. But I didn't feel like, and because I actually, what I love about the show is there's almost this freedom too, that unless something is specifically set, you can embody your own aspects. That's why there are these eternal questions, right? And Cass is like, one of her words was aloof. Like she's wearing her pearls. She's come. She's like, aren't you glad I'm here? But isn't like feeling like she has to be a part of the crowd. But there's a part of her that maybe is a little bit lonely and like wants to play in. What I think is one of the funniest things is Cassandra is she's blocked usually kind of on the outskirts. She's very mad at Grizabella when she comes in. So you have some of that, or at least in the original production, not as much in the revival, I'll say. But what I loved is in Skidmore Shanks, she joins in on the skip line and joins in with mostly kittens to play with the train. And I loved that idea that like, as an actor, I'll find it, okay, why is Cassandra all of a sudden like, I'll help scare Skimble and I'll join in on the train. And like, I don't know, I just picture like, she's like, I'll take off my pearls and have a great time. Like, I don't know, like she finally lets her like inner child go. And then Tantamile, who I actually only played on stage one time, but I did play her once. And just that twin aspect, this kinetic, like this energy of I'm getting signals from old Deuteronomy and prophesying, like all that stuff is super fun. And it's in the choreography to anticipate anyone's entrance or to anticipate a moment. The twins sense it and their cat senses first. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, those are the things that like as you learn and you read about the show, or you had to be in it, or like I would have never picked up on that as like a viewer. You're never gonna those two over there, they were turned earlier.
Have you ever seen Hair?
No.
So just
I'm the worst person for
no, that's okay. I'll say I hadn't seen it. And then I think I was on tour already for a year, and we were off on the summer, and the tour of Hair was coming through LA. So my sister and I went to see it. And like halfway through Act 1, I was like, oh, this is like Cats, because there's an aspect to, well, I mean, I know they came out in different decades, but it's a tribe that the tribe knows, and maybe anyone who's done Hair can correct me if I'm wrong, but my vision, like as the audience, I'm like, I'm being kind of let in, but I know they know exactly what's going on in their tribe, and they're all connected and supported. But we sometimes get a window in, sometimes we don't. And the show doesn't expect us to have to know everything in order to be on the journey with them. So when that show ended, I was like, that's what Cats, it's like, it's a tribal thing. We all know what's going on, and you might not. And that's part of like the experience.
Yeah. And the second person that's compared it to Hair, and someone else compared it to Robert's Line. Those are the two comparisons I've been given. If it wasn't on Broadway, since I moved to New York in 2016, since 2016, I have gone to many shows. Like I embraced being in New York and having the ability to see actors and actresses at the top of their field and the top of their stage live perform. I love that. But I'm not someone who knows a ton about it. Not someone who. So if it wasn't available since 2016 and beyond, then it had to just be one of the few things that came through the
like through tour or something,
or whatever happened there, which is not all that much. So it's like my knowledge is like this very, very version, which is light, which is like become very interesting. So when people are like, "Oh, have you seen Hair? Have you seen this?" I'm like, "No, nobody knows."
That's okay. That's quite all right.
I do find that fascinating because when I walked out, and again, not having that reference to like pull through that, I walked out thinking I watched and I saw Leona Lewis. So I'm like very aware that this
was early.
I saw the last preview or second to last preview, Saturday matinee, second to last preview.
Did you see it again after that, or was that your only time?
A year later, I saw Mamie, and I don't remember. It was like almost exactly a year later in June or July.
Because the show was definitely still like settling, like in previews and stuff. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so I was told from my friend who like works in the theater world, got the tickets, was like, previews are pretty much over, so this should be basically what you're going to get. Because like I didn't know what a preview was. It was the first preview I'd ever been to. Right. And I went dead sober, midday, matinee, didn't know what I was thinking.
That clarification is
hilarious. I walked out thinking I saw the most bizarre X Factor episode.
Right.
And so like that was the only way I can conceptually like feel about the show was like, oh, this is a competition. This is what's going to happen. Someone's going to win. They're going to be rewarded with death, I guess. But you know, like, but they're gonna like, there's each person just going up there and giving their performance. So I never like pieced together the hair or all the other aspects of this until now that I've spent way too many episodes talking about it, where I now kind of have some of this context. But when I walked out that first time, I was like, that was the weirdest X Factor I've ever seen. And that's where a lot of my, when we get into my arguments of like where I've positioned the wrong writing is, it frames from that. And I'm very aware of that. And that's how I've like stuck with this. But I've loved learning about the show because even hearing things like the twins sense this, and like those are things that I just now will pick up on. Like I'm praying I'll get a chance to see it again at some point live to be able to be like, oh, there we go. Here's that. Like, that's what that has. Oh, that's that story that's there.
I'll say, and like, I don't know, I'm super nerdy and I wanted to go all in when I was first playing Demeter, and even like well, first of all, I mean, the fact that it's based on a book of poems, I bought the book of poems and I read the poems through. That not only helped me memorize, but also just, I mean, you just have to know, like, it's based on poems. And there are aspects I found, especially even when we traveled to Canada, or the fact that the show is based in the UK, that people, not as much in America, we don't read T.S. Eliot as much. T.S. Eliot is not as prominent to us. It's funny because he actually is American. He was an expatriate. But so I think like Seussical, which is based on Dr. Seuss, we read Dr. Seuss poems. So when we see that show, it's a whole different story too. But we're used to those poems and that lyric, whereas the UK is very used to the Eliot lyric. And even Trevor Nunn said our first day of rehearsal, he's like, I studied him in university. It's a terrible Trevor Nunn accent, I'm sorry. But so it was, I always have to remember that. But like Demeter, I went into like the history of the Greek goddess Demeter, and her story of being the goddess of the harvest, and tried to kind of find her daughter Persephone. What does that mean? I don't know. And it makes sense that T.S. Eliot here is like knowingly using, I was an English major too, so I studied literature, but he's knowingly like nodding these very adult names into a children's book. And it's just probably funny to the adults reading it to their kids who don't know what that means. But then like we're now interpreting it in a Broadway musical context. And now I'm like playing this role. So what does that mean to me? That's just funny. I don't know. I went to Corinth in Greece on a missions trip a few years ago, and Demeter is their like patron goddess or whatever. And I got myself like a Demeter statue.
Yeah, it is. I wish I would be able to ask a lot of questions to a T.S. Eliot of like some of these things I like are the basis of this. Yes. Because there's a lot of things I'm like, I think that was just random. Like I think, and then I think that was very deliberate. And I think I'd love to know, and that's I guess, as you're an English major, but that's a lot of what you do, and that like you interpret it and you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, okay. I want to do rapid fire with a couple kind of quick questions.
Great.
You've played a lot of the different characters. So I like framing this question a little differently. ignoring your actual like height, skill set, vocal range, whatever, if you could just play anybody in the cast, who would you want? Like which track would you just like? I would love to do that.
It's Monkey Strap, hands down.
Monkey Strap. Okay, why?
Yes.
Give me the why.
He's like, well, I think, and it comes from the VHS from Michael Gruber playing it. I just loved everything about him. I like his makeup plot. I like his color palette. Like I love the gray, the silver, black accents. Like, and I love the vocal timbre. Like the baritone male is like so rich and beautiful. And I don't know. I just like his stoicism as a character. His guidance of that he's the leader of the tribe. I don't know. I like him. And I mean, Demeter has like her relationship with him, but sorry, it's like just him. I'm like, oh, if I were a dude, I want to play him.
That's it. Okay.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
What about favorite song?
Okay. So one of my favorite songs is Skimble Shanks. That's super fun. I think it's like Christmas. It's like when some of us, like the lights turn on, you're like, here we're singing in fun time signatures. But also, it's hard because I'll say one of my favorite songs to perform is Grizz the Glamour Cat, as Demeter specifically, but also now as Grizz. I think that song is so solemn and like, my sister's going to make fun of me, haunting. I use the word haunting a lot when I describe stuff like that, but it's like, I don't know, it's eerie and I like it. So those are like the two polar opposites of songs in the show, but Skimble and Grizz the Glamour Cat.
What about least favorite and favorite character? So cats, not take people out of it. Just no colleagues.
Well, I'll say Skimble is like one of my favorite characters. I think he's adorable. I love this idea that he's like so fastidious and a little neurotic, but quirky and funny. Like I love that character, the orange costume and the vest. I like he wears a vest. That's so cute. So Skimble would have to be my favorite. I'm trying to think of some. I don't really know if there's a character. I know you said disregard people, but I don't want to assume. I don't know. I guess. Well, I guess I'll just say there are some tracks that have been taken out, and that's kind of odd. But like in the Broadway revival, we had Carbot Kitty and Electra, and on tour they were taken out and kind of given over to other characters. But which I think is kind of unfortunate to the people who play those roles, because it then makes it seem like they're not as influential. But maybe like somewhere in there, I don't know. Because I like Electra. She's fun playing with her.
This is very political. A lot of people have said this is my one. Like this is my absolute. No, I hate this one. Mine's Peter.
Really?
Mine's Peter.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, Peter. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, I won't hold you to it. I want to ask now my thesis question, which is the whole thing is centered around the fact that I don't think Grizabella should have been the winner.
Right.
I'm curious. You've played Grizabella and a lot of other people up for the role. You've sang on behalf of Gus. Mm-hmm. Who would you pick? Do you think Grizabella is the right cat to die at the end of the show, or would you be on a different team?
I totally think I think Gus could definitely be the one chosen. And I not even as someone who has played Jelly, but when you kind of look at the show as a whole, I guess just the idea that it is this older person, cat, who has learned, like sees their life in a different way than many of the other cats do. Like just that appreciation of people who are the older generations that have come before you and what they've lived through and seen. So in a way, I always think like, and it was fun kind of as Jelly, because I'm like, sometimes I would play the like, well, Gus, I think it should have been you. Like, but we all have to come to Grizz's side at some point. But I know I would go off like seeing the Gus, he would almost like nod, like, it's okay. It's not my time, which actually then I think makes him even more noble, because then he's like, I'll probably die before next year, but it's okay. And you're like, oh, that's so crushing.
So Gus is the most obvious choice outside of Grizabella.
Yeah.
My humorous answer was, the X Factor version was Tugger and Mistopheles, because I just think they're the most fun. Oh, but Christopher ruined that for me, because he said that he didn't think Gus had a life to live. He was going to be, that would have been the end, and that's why he didn't want to go. And I'm like, I know. Thanks, Gur, for like making such. selling
He's
yourself
like,
on
oh yeah,
white.
he just goes off in a corner and he dies, and that's okay. I'm like,
As,
oh my God.
that makes it, because I think Team Gus is the most obvious choice. Like it's the one that's got the most like convincing. This makes sense in the broader theory, besides my little kind of fake play world of how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
But that's funny. Okay, so you are on Team Gus, but you're cool with
Right, because
Grizabella.
I always did think it was kind of funny that Jenny was nominated, because in a way it's like, I think I don't know, I haven't played Jenny. I'd have to ask some of my Jenny gals, but I feel like she's like loving the idea that she's getting up at night and cleaning and making all the cats do what they need to do. Like, I think she's enjoying herself, and like, maybe is there an aspect that she does want to leave this? Because I think she's having a grand old time doing tap numbers, but maybe not.
Revival, Eloise, it was Eloise. She said that she didn't think that she could. Like, there's too much to do. She had to be there still.
Yes. Yeah,
So
I love that. I love that idea.
She was the one who said that. So there's been, again, I've had a lot of conversations about this in a lot of different ways. And so I'm trying to find every angle I can of whether or not I'm right or wrong, because this whole podcast premise is based on the fact that Grizabella shouldn't have died.
Right.
Okay, let's kind of pivot. What else are you working on? What are you doing these days? Now that, with everything going on.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think as any artist knows, it's been an interesting time to kind of look outward and inward and see where are we supposed to be, which we're all on our own paths. But I've used this time. I decided I'm working on my Pilates certification. So I'm currently working toward getting Pilates certified, because as anyone who's done cats knows, it's very physically taxing. And I've gone through different injuries over the years from the show. And Pilates and PT, physical therapy, was super helpful to me. So in this time, I've decided to invest time and energy into that, which is so great, because it's just helping me with my body and feel stronger in this time, which is great. And then I'm also just like I've rebranded my website a bit, did like a lifestyle photo shoot, and I'm hopefully going to be getting some music, me singing some stuff online soon. We're working on that right now, but
awesome.
Yeah.
So that's my last question. How can we find you on social media? How can we keep up for when these things do come up?
Yeah, so my website is madisonmitchell.net, and you can see stuff there. And then I'm on Instagram at madison.mitchell_. I believe that's correct. And I'm on Facebook too. I've been not as good with posting stuff on Facebook as much, so I either need to get better at that or just go on Instagram instead. Yeah, so that's where I'll be sharing some stuff. Yeah, and I just kind of like to use creative energy, and like I'll say something that a friend of mine actually started in a production of Les Mis I did, but I kept it in productions of Cats. There are these things called angel cards that just are like words of kind of like positive words or affirmation, and it's something to like meditate or pray on throughout the day. And I would do as a swing. I loved doing it. If I felt I knew the role well enough and wasn't going to be in my head, I would pick an angel card and like say the word is celebration, and I'm playing Demeter. Okay, what does that mean for today? How can I work on that word in the performance today? I think our closing show of Cats, the angel card I drew, a closing in Broadway, the angel card I drew was sisterhood, brotherhood. And I loved that. And I felt it was like just so perfect for what this experience was and this tribe and family coming together. So I'll say I've also been doing my angel cards every day and just finding ways to like be inspired. I've been reading a lot too. So I don't know, just finding ways to like be a consumer, but also a creator at the same time.
Yeah, I love the idea of the angel card idea. Like that's so great to have like something for each day, because there's so much going on with like mental health, and just being able to take some of that and like this is one thing to celebrate or focus on.
Yeah,
today.
yeah, intentions. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for indulging me on all 4 productions of Cats and all the
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to hear from you, and you teaching me stuff too about the show that I didn't know.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so fun. Cats has been such a special part of my life, and I would have never expected it at 13 to know. And I'll just say to close that like getting to experience the show from 6 different vantage points over the past 10 and a half years now is so unique, and something that speaks to, I know people don't know what Cats is all the time, but there is this depth to it, and getting to be an actor and explore that literally explore the Jellicle Ball from all these different angles is really cool. And I've enjoyed getting to just try my best and see what I can do in the show.
Well, thank you for coming, and thanks for listening to this episode with Madison Mitchell on The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.